Sometimes you need to feel the pain and sting of defeat to activate the real passion and purpose that God predestined inside of you. God says in Jeremiah, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Hear me well on this day.
Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. So this is the first time that I've ever done this. And I'm literally talking to myself, which I know visually I'm going to be talking to other people, but I'm still nervous. So excuse me if I pause or stutter at any time. So, the short version, story of who I am. My name's Elena Maria, or you call me Maria Elena is what my family calls me. I'm from California. And 5 years ago, no, actually today is the 6th year anniversary of my father's passing. He passed away December 15th, 2017, unexpectedly. I was actually supposed to be leaving Virginia, where I lived at the time, to go to California to visit my family for the holidays. And I had a ticket for December 17th to go home for the holidays. And on December 15th, my father passed away unexpectedly. So instead of me going home to celebrate the holidays, I knew that I was going to have to go home to bury my father. So I packed a suitcase for my son and myself, and walked away from my whole life. I walked away from my 3-bedroom home, my business, my car, my Dodge Charger, all my furniture, all my clothes, everything inside my house, my career. I had my own spa. I'm a licensed massage therapist, so I directed the spa, and I also taught massage therapy as well. So I walked away from my whole business, my students, everything. Even my dog, my Siberian Husky, her name was Karma. And I walked away. I left her in Virginia with a good friend and got on a plane and never looked back. All I was focused on was burying my father. So instead of ever really taking that vacation that my dad and mom wanted me to, because I was just working. I was on overload, and like I got really sick. I had a double ear infection and bronchitis, and that was when my dad was like, just come and take a break, Mom and I will take care of you for a little while. So that's what I did. I was planning on having vacation, but God had different plans. And that day when my father passed away, that day changed me forever. And it scarred me. It was like one of the first life-changing devastation through loss. I've had friends and stuff pass away. My grandpa passed away, but my grandparents, my grandma, my grandfathers, but my dad, he was my best friend. I'm the only girl. I have 3 brothers. And little did I know that I would become the rock that held my family together. So when I got to California, that's where all my family is. I had to be strong for my mom. I had to be strong for my brothers. I had to be strong for my son. I had to be strong for my grandma, who's my dad's mother. I had to be strong for my whole family. And when I packed my suitcase, I packed only black clothes because I knew I would be grieving. And and I packed only black scrubs because I knew I would be working. So when I got home, I immediately started planning for a funeral. Not the holidays like everybody else was, but a funeral. Luckily, my father, he was a veteran, and thankfully, the VA helped us, and when I had a family friend of a friend that knew somebody that had a funeral home, and she took care of us very well, and I was able to bury my father on December 22nd. So it wasn't, that stressful having to raise money or anything like that because it was unexpected. But at the same time, I wasn't like really dealing with my grief or the reality of what it was happening around me. Like, I was dealing with everybody else's and being strong for everybody else, but not taking care of myself or thinking about myself. And so after I buried my father, I immediately went to work. While everybody else was still grieving, my brothers, they were getting drunk and partying with the family and, processing their grief, allowing themselves to have time to process that grief. And I was running away from it. I focused on work because I'm a massage therapist. And so going to work and working on people, like, I sit and I listen to people's problems all day long. And I hear them vent to me and I help them get through their day. And, I would focus on their pain and their grief or any issue with them, to not focus on mine. I spoke to nobody. I only cried in the shower. I was angry with God. And I was lost. I was trying to find that person that I was when my father was still here. And I remember one time I was looking at myself in the mirror and I just started crying because I was just like, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't even recognize my own reflection. But I had to just put on my poker face and act like everything was okay and go to work and be strong for my family. 3 months later, I lost my best friend, my cousin. Since we were little, we were only 3 months apart. And the night she went out to the bar to do karaoke, she told me she was scared. She told me that she was scared, and I asked her, why, cousin? I said, why? And she said, I don't know, cousin, but the last time that I felt like this, I had to go to church. And I told her, I said, it's okay, cousin. We'll go to church tomorrow. Because it was a Saturday night. I said, we'll go to church tomorrow. We'll take the boys. Because she had a son. And everything's going to be okay. That night, she wanted me to go out with her, but I decided I didn't want to because I wasn't feeling well. And I ended up watching her son. And the next morning, I called and I called and I called and I called, and she wouldn't answer, and I thought maybe she was hungover or something, And I made breakfast for the boys, and by the time it hit about 10:30, I was like, so once 11 o'clock hit, after I had fed the boys, and I still didn't hear anything from her, I began to worry. But I didn't say anything. I was still trying to, just think that she was hungover. So start getting ready for church, because hopefully, by the time we were ready, I would hear something from her. So when I got out the shower, I had all kinds of missed phone calls from family members, cousins that I normally don't talk to on a day-to-day basis. And I thought that was strange, and so I returned the phone calls, and it's like every one of them was like, "Where's Megan? Where's Megan? Where's Megan?" And I was like, "She's not here yet, like I have meal, like she's not here yet." But like, what do you mean? Like, I haven't talked to her. Have you talked to her? Like, and they're like, "No, I thought you were with her." And I was like, "No, like I stayed home. Like I wasn't feeling good last night, like." But I have another cousin, and her name's Elena, just like me, Elena. But we call her Lenny in my family. And so everybody was calling me looking for Megan, because they all know that Megan and I were like two peas in a pod, like sisters, best friends since we were babies, cousins, my partner in crime. We're always together. Everywhere I went, they knew Megan would be right behind me. Everywhere Megan went, I'd be right behind her, And they're like, okay, I'll call you back. Like literally, and by the third person that I had called, they're like, "I'll call you back, cousin. I'll call you back." And by then I was like, "Can somebody please tell me something? Somebody please tell me what's going on?" And nobody told me. They're like, "I'll call you back, cousin. I'll call you back." My tío, my uncle called me, her dad. And mind you, I had, just gotten out the shower, so I wasn't even dressed yet. And he told me that my cousin had passed away. She passed away in a car accident, a single car accident, at 3 o'clock in the morning on March 3rd, 2018. 3 months after my father passed away. And when he told me that, I just remember screaming so loud and falling to my knees. And when I fell to my knees, I was just crying and crying and crying in the bathroom. And my mom and the boys, they heard me. Everybody heard me in the house. And when I fell to my knees and I was crying on the floor, I swear to you, I heard my cousin crying with me. And then my mom's knocking at the door, frantic, like, what happened? And the boys running behind her, looking at me on the floor, screaming and crying. And all I was saying was, Megan. And my mom's like, what? And I just was like, Megan, and I didn't want to say anything. I didn't know how to say anything yet to her son that was only 10. Her only son. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know what to do. And I just remember my mom getting the boys and asking my brother to walk them down to the market down the street. But he knew something was wrong. He knew. And I remember just having to be strong for her son, for my Nina, my tia, my aunt, my godmother, her mom, who just lost her brother as well, which is my dad. And then the following month, April 3rd, I lost a friend, a good friend that Megan and I both knew since we were young. And he was hit by a car while he was riding his bike. And then 2 months later, I lost an uncle. And then that Thanksgiving of 2018, my tia, my Nina, my godmother, who is my dad's sister, and my cousin's mother, that Thanksgiving day of 2018, we then lost another family member, my uncle and her husband, my aunt's husband. So not only did my aunt lose her brother, she lost her daughter and then her husband. So by then, almost the end of 2018, I had lost my house, my job, my car, my dog, everything I had in Virginia. I walked away and went to California. I'm no longer in California. We'll talk about that later. But I walked away from all of that. So that's loss in itself. And then I lost my father. And then I lost my cousin. And then I lost a friend and 2 uncles. So that is what we call cumulative loss. When you have lost people or things, because you could grieve not just for people, you could grieve for, financial, relationship, estrangement. Estrangement is like if you were to get in an argument with your family, or you have a disagreement with your family, which causes like conflict, and you're no longer talking to that family, like you cut ties and you're completely now like cut off from that family. So you're going to go through that grieving process. And complicated grief, complicated and cumulative grief. Complicated grief is like when you've gone through a loss of losing a family member through death, which I was going through. On top of that, I was going through cumulative grief, which is multiple losses at once, not allowing me to process one before I were to get another one, because there wasn't enough time. So I wasn't really able to process that, because before I knew it, there was somebody else passing away. So it was like I almost was like gasping for air, like I couldn't catch my breath, because I didn't know what was going on inside of me. And all I was doing was running from the pain, because I didn't want to face it, and I didn't know how to work. I became so absorbed in my work and taking care of everybody else, because I've always been that way. I wasn't processing it or wanting to process it or accept it. I was denying it and running from it, not realizing the effects that it was doing to me internally. I remember there was times where I would be working clients doing massage while they were face down, venting to me in their life stories. And I just remember times that I would just be crying my eyes out, knowing that this is not healthy for me or my client, because my energy, my emotion, and stuff that I was releasing, I remember times it would knock me down to my knees, and I would just be so exhausted and so tired. I was so alone, and I was so lost and angry. But I knew when my brother had asked me, "Sister, why did your God take my dad?" I knew then I didn't know anything about life, or I didn't have it all figured out like I thought that I did when my dad was still here. I was always a very positive, like, happy person, and you know, they call me L, love and light. You know, I always say it's in my blood to be positive because I have B positive blood. So I always used to make jokes about that it was in my blood to be positive, because I was always just trying to spread love and light wherever I went. I used to tell people, you know, as a massage therapist, my goal is to travel the world and lay hands on people and help them heal by spreading love and light and healing energy through massage. By just being a good person. You know, if I could be a good person and help that person become a good person by making them know that they are heard and that I'm taking my time and my energy to hear them and help them heal through massage, that if I could be that person for them, then maybe they could be that person for somebody else. So I did that, and I did that for several years after I had lost my dad, not focusing or thinking about my grief. Being the rock for my family and taking care of my whole family, my 3 brothers, my son, my mom, you know, like my cousin's son now. And I found God, and I wanted to find God again. I wanted to have answers to my brother's question, like, why did God? He said, "Your God, sister, take my dad." And I didn't have an answer for that. So I began to study the Bible. And at the time I was engaged to a Jehovah's Witness. And I was going to convert for him because I had to in order to marry him. And through that time, I studied the Bible, you know, constantly with them. And without them, I remember I would be studying the Bible, reading the Bible on lunch break, or, you know, in between my massage therapy sessions, and you know, that was helping me to be able to read the Bible and stuff. But there's some things that I just did not agree with that. I wouldn't even call it religion. It's more cultish to me, the Jehovah's Witness. Excuse me, and I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anybody, but it was just weird, like certain things that they believe in, and it began to make me depressed because just some of the things I didn't agree in, and I was already feeling lost, and I had lost my identity because I lost my father and my family members, and I was trying to figure out who I was and this pain and process it. And now I'm over here like, you're telling me this when I've always believed in this, and I can't do this, and I can't talk to these family members because you guys don't believe in this. And I'm just like, okay, God, is this really what you want me to do? And I knew down deep inside my gut that it wasn't, but I truly believe that this guy was a man of God, and that he loved me. And in March of 2020, the day before California shut down for COVID, I remember waking up that day and I just couldn't go to work. And I was in the, bathroom, and my fiance's knocking on the door, and he's like, "We're gonna be late, are you gonna go to work? What's going on?" And I'm like, "I don't feel good, like something's wrong, like I gotta go to the hospital. This pain is a crazy pain that I'm feeling. I need to go to the hospital. It's like not normal." And I could take a lot of pain, I'm very strong when it comes to stuff like that, because my mom is strong. I have 3 brothers. I was raised tough, and I had a feeling I was pregnant, and I wasn't gonna say anything because I didn't want to say anything until I knew for sure. And so when I get to the hospital, I told them that I think that I may be pregnant and I may be going through an ectopic pregnancy due to the symptoms that I was feeling, because I know my body pretty well. And they're like, "Well, why do you think this?" And I'm like, "Well, I know my body, and I study in the health field because before massage therapy, I was going to school to become a physical therapist, and I'm continuing my education in kinesiology, which is totally another story as well. But I'm a science nerd, and I just love to learn about health and the body and nutrition and all that, So I told them, and sure enough, they took my blood pregnancy test, and I was pregnant, and they did an ultrasound. And I remember when they did the ultrasound, I was like, "Can you see it? Can you tell me if anything's wrong, or if everything's okay?" And she wouldn't tell me. She was like, "You'll have to talk to the doctor about that." And I was so scared, but knowing that I was pregnant, I was like so happy at the same time, because that's all I wanted, and that's all I prayed for, and knew that was gonna heal me because of all the loss that I had endured, that baby, was going to be my little angel, my little blessing. And so the same day that I found out I was pregnant was the same day that I was told that I was having an ectopic pregnancy, and I was gonna have to have emergency surgery because my fallopian tube had ruptured, and I was internally bleeding, so I was basically dying. That in itself was hard to process, because that joy that I had for just a minute was ripped away. And I just remember asking God, like, why? And that was when I became numb. And I couldn't take it anymore. They took my fallopian tube, my left fallopian tube, and my baby. 8 days later, I found out that my Jehovah's Witness fiance was cheating on me with a man. So once I found out that he was cheating on me with a man, and he was gay, I flipped. I short-circuited. I broke down. I had a nervous breakdown, whatever you want to call it. But I broke. I couldn't take it anymore. All that I had bottled up inside of me, all that I did not ever process from the time of December 2017, when I lost my father, to March 2020, when I lost my baby, and the next day, COVID and California shut down because of COVID. And so after I went through the healing process from physically healing after I lost the baby in my fallopian tube, you know, my first reaction was like, go back to work, but I couldn't now because of COVID. So I couldn't run anymore through my work. I had to actually be still and process that God was forcing me to, because he knew that I wouldn't unless he forced me to. And I was angry. I was mad. And I was mad at him, so I began to run from him. And I remember going to my family and telling them, like, it's my turn. It's my turn to grieve. It's my turn. It's not fair that I have to do it all the time. It's my turn, you know, to go drink and, you know, smoke weed and get wasted and try to figure out what I'm doing, because everybody else is going through it and they grieved, they processed it, and I haven't. And now on top of it, I lost a baby, a fallopian tube, my fiance, thinking something's wrong with me. Like, what's wrong with me? Like did I turn him gay, or, you know, like, and on top of that, as crazy as it sounds, the only person that I wanted when I was grieving for my baby and my fallopian tube was him. And knowing that he wasn't there and that he just continued on living his life like nothing ever happened. Like, we weren't together for almost 4 years and engaged and planning a wedding, and we just lost a baby, his first baby at that. He completely cut me off and left me out in the cold. Left me to go through it alone. So I ended up moving to the mountains, Forest Falls in California, and began to heal. And although I was angry at God, he was still always there. He was still always around me. He helped me when I, you know, tried to run from him. He still showed me that his presence was there. And forced me to, you know, continue on my spiritual journey, and, you know, learning more about his word and getting closer to him, and having faith in him through the pain, through the process. But then a fire happened in September of that year. I don't know if anybody from California knows what I'm talking about. It was the El Dorado gender reveal fire that started like in the Yucaipa area, like San Bernardino, like Big Bear Mountain area right there. So I was evacuated like from my house from the fire for a month. And at that time I was, you know, making, you know, masks and care packages and stuff for COVID. And depending on like the permit or like how, you know, how many people were getting sick, or like if it was slowing down or whatever, I would be able to do massage. So there was times where I was able to do massage where I would go to clients' houses, or they would come to my house. But now I was evacuated, so I was solely going to my clients' houses. And I was referred by one of my friends that I went to massage therapy school. She referred me to somebody to do a massage. And when I went to go do the massage, it was at a hotel. That right there should have been a flag in itself, a red flag. But I don't ever listen to my gut, and my dad always used to tell me, listen to your gut, Mia, because when you don't, that's when you get in trouble. And I go to the room, I knock on the door, and I set up, and it was this Nigerian guy. He was probably like 6'3", 6'4", huge Nigerian dude. And you know, he was coming off already, like making passes at me and stuff, and I was just like, no, like, you know, this is strictly, you know, like professional, work related. And before I even got to set up my table and like put the sheets and get ready to, you know, for my session, he hit me in my face, knocked me out, straight on the floor. And I remember waking up, and I was like, you know, like on my stomach, on my side, kind of like face down. And I remember waking up, and I was like crying and laughing because this was really happening right now. And I was crying and laughing, and I started to scream. And when I screamed, he pulled my hair, and he started pulling me across the floor and knocked me out again. And every time I would wake up, he was raping me, and he would knock me out again. And that would go on for hours and hours and hours. Finally, like, it was early in the morning, like 6, 7 o'clock the next day. He was asleep. He had fallen asleep a couple times, but not completely. And every time that he had fallen asleep and I noticed, I would try to get away, and he wouldn't let me get away. But finally he fell asleep so strongly and tiredly after he'd done what he'd done for hours with me, I was able to get away. So with that, all those things resulting in cumulative grief truly changed me and scarred me forever. Me no longer knowing my identity or who I was, or even having faith in itself because of how ugly people were and had been to me, along with the loss of loved ones. I was so numb inside and broken inside and just completely devastated, trying to process everything at one time. It was driving me insane. So through scripture and the Lord, I just prayed and prayed and prayed and cried and cried and cried down on my knees, just saying, please, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. Just carry me, show me, Lord, please. Hold me and carry me through, because I don't want to be alive anymore. I don't want to live anymore. I can't do this. It hurts too bad and I can't take it anymore. Please. And I began to read the word. And I began to understand why these things were happening to me, and that it wasn't God, that the world was in the hands of the wicked one. And through the sin of Adam and Eve, how we were promised death because of sin, because of the devil, the wicked one, tempted them. And I learned the stories, and I learned, how to, dissect the hidden messages and the metaphors in the Bible, and it brought comfort to me in the storm, and it made me realize that I was God's daughter, that I was the light in the darkness, in the dark world that I was living in. And I accepted the fact that I was never going to be that person that had it all figured out, that person that I was when my dad was alive. I thought I had it all figured out, and I was, successful at a young age and making great money and judgmental and spoiled, stuck up. I remember judging people that would do drugs, or judging the homeless people, and I ended up actually becoming homeless and, smoking weed and drinking and doing all that. And I found some of the most beautiful spirits and souls in the darkest of places, and I helped them get through the grief and the loss by spreading the love that Yahweh provided for me. And through my pain and my healing, I helped others heal. Because that's what Yahweh, my Father, showed me and guided me to do. At times I would feel like I was in this dark tunnel, and I could see both ends, like the entrance and the exit. But I was that one little torch of light in the middle that everybody was trying to grab onto to get to the other side. Sometimes it would be so exhausting. But I knew that if I ever completely shut off my heart, that I would lose my connection to God. Because being numb, being savage, being heartless, like this world makes you want to be, because that's the way everybody is. Then you're going to become of this world. And like I said, this world is in the hands of the wicked one. We are not to be worldly. We're not to be of this world, because we are God's people. And through all the pain and all the grief, we don't want to feel that pain. Pain is going to change you. Yes, it is. You're going to go through those emotions. I mean, literally, chemically, in your brain, the codes that's encoded in your brain through the loss of, of a loved one going from we to me or I, like your brain is literally processing it the same way. Like, it's a scientific fact that it's encoded into your brain as we. And then when you go through the loss of that person, now your brain is trying to process that loss as well. Not just your heart, but it's also your brain. So, you basically are now learning who you are once again. And that's a hard thing in itself, because you were this person for so long, and now you're staring at a reflection in the mirror trying to figure out who you are when you thought you had it all figured out. But what you need to know is that with God's help, He's going to transform that pain into purpose. He's going to heal your heart and guide you into, guide you into something that may seem dark, or you might feel lonely, but it's all for a reason. It's all for a reason, because in that loneliness and in that pain and that isolation, in that dark place that you may be, or you had to go through, or you had to experience, you just got closer to Him, and you trusted in Him. And that was when His work was the most profound. And when you make it out, or if you're still in it, you are now seeing how strong you are through Christ, and only because of Christ. And not allowing yourself to become numb or hard or savage, because that's what the devil in this world wants you to be. By not allowing that and actually embracing it and letting the pain pass through, and you process that pain, but not become a part of that pain. Like, don't get stuck in that pain, but actually, okay, you're recognizing it, you're processing it. Okay, now you're going to get through that pain, whether it's in the dark or, on the other side, out the end of the cave. Like, you're processing it. It's all a process, and you get through and you get to the other side, and oh man, here comes more obstacles, right? We'll talk about that later, but you have God in your heart no matter what. You're gonna go through that flame, and you're gonna transform into the phoenix, and you're gonna be the strongest, most greatest version of yourself that you've ever been. But you gotta be patient with yourself. You gotta be loving to yourself. You gotta tell yourself positive affirmations, and speak love into your life, even into those that don't, those negative people around you, those haters, the misery loves company type of people. Show them love too, because that is what God is. God is love, and people are hurting out here, guys. And we got to show them that it's okay to hurt. It's a part of life. But don't get stuck in it. Don't get caught in the world. Always live in your heart, because we're still alive and we have a purpose here. And it gets lonely sometimes, but you're not